Don't get so close to me. Things to do while under house arrest.
Growing up on the water with fishing in their blood, Matt Arey and Bryan Thrift have spent the last 10 years competing against the biggest names in professional bass fishing. Their success has landed them ranked among the top anglers in the world. If you're looking to become a better angler, then this show has all the answers. Join us and follow along to get actionable tips, tactics, and tried and true techniques directly from the pros. Welcome to Let's Talk Fish.
We're live?
Yes. We're live. We got ices, courtesy of Mr. Jeff.
Yeah, I'm trying. Don't walk in front of the camera.
Come on, Jeff. He's got to get another icy.
So, real quick.
This is like my fifth icy.
It's
very good.
It is. It literally is Brian's fifth icy.
I think it is my fifth one.
And
so,
I don't know.
I'm about done. Go ahead till I finish my icy.
You've had one of every flavor in the freezer.
That's my goal.
All right. So we're back. We're back, and I know it's no. This is 2 in a row for you and I. Yeah. So,
yes, this is 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In
So
a
this
row.
is good.
And
we have
evidently for the foreseeable future, probably every Tuesday for the rest of the year. It's looking like.
Yeah. we could potentially have the most consistent LTF season ever. This being our third season, and before we actually both got over here a little early. We were back here shooting some goodies for.
We have got some goodies.
We've got some goodies, and we got some cool stuff in the works. If you checked out our story on Instagram, you got a little sneak peek of what we've been working on. In this downtime, we have starting to build a lot of really cool content for all our viewers out there, and cannot wait to release the opportunity for y'all to join and become a part of what we're doing. So we we want to hear from y'all too. We got almost 300 viewers already, guys. This is great. We want to hear from y'all too on what y'all are doing during this quarantine. Because we need some ideas. You know, we both got kids, and we're homeschooling.
Yeah, having fun. Like I'm having fun because.
Oh no, 100% having fun.
Yeah,
it's
like
just
we're getting to play outside every day. We're getting to do all kinds of stuff that normally I'm gone this time of year for. But it's been a lot of fun. The homeschooling's kind of been a little trying for my wife. So thankfully, Allison.
You're not homeschooling any?
No, I don't do the homes. All right, let me explain this. All right,
please.
Not because I'm
not smart enough to do it,
or not smart enough to do it, but I am a professional fisherman. My wife, on the other hand, has a college degree in elementary education and a master's in elementary education. So she is way more qualified to homeschool than I am, and she's doing a great job. So I just let her roll with that.
I don't blame you. My wife, Emily, is teleworking from home, and she's also doing the majority of the homeschooling for my oldest daughter. My youngest one obviously isn't in school yet.
And that's the way we are.
But she is, I'm trying to help out a little bit, best I can.
Hang on. Best part of the icy right here.
What?
All right.
We had to stop the show for that.
Proceed with the show.
All right. Thanks, Mike Harris. He did say we were correct. This is how we know. So if you notice, Jeff's not in the room. He's actually in the other room. We're trying to practice our social distancing.
Yeah, we'd be way
and
closer
I have
than
a
6 feet.
7-foot rod right here.
What are you doing?
And I'm just showing them. I'm showing them that I can almost poke you in the eyeball, and it's a 7-footer, so we know we're a sufficient distance apart.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, y'all, I know there's a lot of people out there that are not taking this seriously. You need to, okay? Because this is a big deal. The quicker everybody does work together, the quicker we all get through this mess. Because trust me.
And then everybody's back to fishing and back to normal.
That's right. Couple things. I even brought my hand sanitizer, by the way. I've got to spray on Brian if he gets too close to me. Couple things real quick. So Angler's Choice wanted us to let y'all know, and we want to let you know that they are staying open. They are there for your service. One thing that people, and this is awesome. Excuse me. This is awesome because I tell you what, I've spent more time in the outdoors with my 2 children in the past 2 weeks than I probably have in the past year. And from fishing to turkey season, youth day, turkey season coming in Saturday here in North Carolina. I'll be taking my oldest daughter who's showing some interest. This is a great opportunity to get kids outdoors.
Yep.
Keep following those social distancing guidelines and get the kids outside, man. The weather's been beautiful here in North Carolina.
Yeah, beautiful spring weather. I mean, we've been outside every day playing in the water. I actually got my sons to help me wash my truck, so that was good.
That's funny you said that, because Reese helped me wash the boat the other day.
Did she?
And I probably have the cleanest boat that I've ever had during this quarantine.
See, it was so awesome because I'm washing the truck and I've got my bucket of soap over here, and Cooper's going in and he'll stick his hand in the bucket, and then he'll have soap all over his hand, and he'll walk over to the side of the truck and just rub it real good. He did a good job cleaning what he could. Everything from 2.5 feet down.
I was going to say, he's vertically limited to what he can reach. All right, but Angler's Choice is staying open, guys. Everybody is out fishing. I'm loving seeing that. Obviously, keeping your distance from everybody else, but there's a lot of boats on the waters. Moss Lake has been slammed full.
That's what
like
I've heard. I haven't been out there, but I've heard it's been very covered up the last few days.
Yeah. It's been awesome. So, but Angler's Choice is there for you if you need any service work done. I know it's time to get the boats out, get the rocking and rolling.
And the cool thing about Angler's Choice is they've got a dealership close to pretty much anybody in the Carolinas or Virginia. I mean, they've got a Spindale location, they've got a Lexington location, Martinsville, Virginia. So, anywhere in the Carolinas or Virginia, they've got you covered. And they're fishermen too. That's what makes it great going to a dealership with this actually got fishermen that run it. They know time is of an essence, and all fishermen wants their stuff done right now. So they do their best to get things done quickly and efficiently and get you back on the water. So make sure you go hit those guys up if you need anything.
Yeah, and another thing, actually, it's funny because Neil Paul just texted me. One thing that still remained open is online shopping, and online shopping also supports a lot of not just our sponsors but our industry as a whole. Right. And I don't want to just talk about our industry, but the entire economy.
The entire economy.
Yeah, that's right. So I get some people are on some extremely financial constraints right now. I understand that. But people that are still able to get out there and support your local businesses, support the businesses that support the industries that you work in or you're interested in, keep that going. Keep that going as long as you can, because there's a lot of people out there in need right now.
Yep.
And like I said,
that's something we've been trying to do too. Like we've been cooking a lot at home, obviously, but 1 or 2, 3 nights a week, we'll try to go pick up supper somewhere from one of the local restaurants or something through carry out, just to help keep them up. I mean, because who knows how long this is going to last, and plus it's probably cheaper to eat out than it is to go to the grocery store, especially for me, because I always go to the grocery store hungry. Like, I'll go to the grocery store with one thing on my mind, and next thing you do, I got $200 worth of junk.
Yeah. Well, and something else, guys. When keep in mind, when you go pick up takeout and support your local restaurants, this is a pet peeve of mine. Tip them. Tip them.
Yes.
Tip them, guys. Just tip them. I know a lot of people think when they get takeout they shouldn't leave any extra, but that's just not true, especially in times like now. Especially in times like now. But yeah, everybody get out, support your local businesses, and get takeout and support those restaurants that are in dire need right now too.
I did clean my shop today. That's one thing I did while on house arrest.
Everybody should have the cleanest boat, cleanest truck, cleanest shop they've ever had during this time. But all right, let's see. Don't forget. Okay, so a couple things real quick. We are cross-posting this feed on multiple pages. Keep in mind, if you're watching on Bryan Thrift's page or Matt Arey's page or the Basscasters page, it's over on Titan Tungsten. It's also over on Topwater Blow-Ups. If you're watching on any of those pages and you're wanting to engage or get your questions answered, you must be over on the Let's Talk Fish Facebook page. Also, trivia giveaway tonight. We've got the elusive Toyota Fishing Team hat, the camo one that everybody... Sorry, Jeff's yelling at me. Yeah. Jeff said to be sure to go follow those pages as well. We've got a Toyota Fishing Team hat signed by Brian and myself, the camo version that's so hard to come by, and a Catch Commander scale valued at what, about $80?
Yeah, I think $80 is around the price range of them, and everybody's out fishing right now. This is the time of year to catch your personal best. Take a picture of it. You get the Catch Commander scales. Take a picture of it. Shoot it over to Let's Talk Fish. We'll throw it up on the page and spread the word for everybody.
All right, so at the end of the show, we will have our trivia giveaway. And remember, you have to be on LTF's page in order to be eligible for that giveaway because we're not going to see your answers if you're not. All right, so Brian?
Yes.
Things to do while under house arrest?
All right, you want me to just list what all I've done so far?
You can do that, yeah.
All right,
you can do that. Well, I mean, I don't know if we want to know.
I've done a lot of cleaning. My OCD has really kicked in the last couple of days. I cleaned my wife's car. I cleaned my truck. Cleaned the shop. Started cleaning the house today. And let's see, what else have I done? I worked on my tractor yesterday. Battery was dead. I had to replace the battery in it.
You have a tractor?
I do have a tractor.
What kind of tractor you have?
Mahindra, 55 horsepower.
I hear you. Maybe I didn't know you had it. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I got like a bush hog and a tiller for it.
That's right. I didn't know you had a tractor.
So I've been doing a lot of cleaning and then spending time outside with the boys and my wife. We've got a little water table that it's got all kind of little gadgets to play with in the water. And this weekend it was 80 degrees, and Cooper absolutely loves the water table. So we'll go out there and set it up for him, and Allie can sit in her chair and drink a glass of wine, and me and the kids can run around and squirt her with water. So it's good times, very good times.
That's funny because one of my kids' favorite thing to do during the winter is to go over to the local YMCA and swim in the indoor pool because they love swimming. And since we can't go to the lake in the wintertime, it's too cold. But the last few days, not today, what a difference a day can make. Today's been like in the 50s.
Yeah, I think it's actually supposed to be like in the 30s one night this week, maybe tomorrow night or something.
I haven't even looked that far ahead. But like Brian said, the last couple of days has been in the 80s, and we have a
very nice
couple little kiddie pools at the house. We've got a water table too.
Yes.
We've had it all set up in the driveway, so we brought the pool home. Is what we did. We created a little, like a little water world in our driveway. We had a couple pools and a little water table, and we had the hose out there spraying the girls, and they were playing. But a lot of fun things to do around the house. A lot more. We both kind of live isolated out in the country, so we've had the kids out. We've been riding the tractor around the property and getting them. We've taken them over to my neighbor's pond and do a little fishing. We've taken them to the lake. Got them out on the water, gone for boat rides. We went over to the local soccer complex. The parks are closed. The playground equipment's closed, understandably so. But we took the kids over to the soccer field, let them play soccer. Just the family and I. A lot of things. Just get them outdoors while the weather's nice. And I know everybody's going a little stir crazy, but like I said, we're in this together. And the quicker we
and I think my next project is going to be. I'm going to probably go through every box of tackle I've got and organize everything, change hooks, just something to keep busy because that's something like...
You're going to take off new hooks and put on more new hooks?
I will because I do that. Like even if a bait comes with super sharp hooks, as soon as I get it out of the package, I will put new Fusion 19 hooks from Berkeley on it. And I don't want to have to waste time in a tournament if I break my... BTC 60 crankbait off and I dig another one out. I want it to have, the guaranteed best, sharpest hooks on it. So I always change my hooks on everything. And I don't want to take time to change hooks during the tournament. So I want to make sure everything's got hooks on it when I get there.
That's a good point. I agree. Justin Johnson said kids in the outdoors are the only way to keep the sports alive. Absolutely. And what better time than now than to get them outside and get them involved in some of that stuff. All right, give us some ideas on what y'all been doing. I see Andy was out fishing, said he caught his personal best. It was a 758.
Awesome. Dang, that's a good one.
He also said he used his wife's rod bait and that she netted it for him. So that sounds kind of backwards.
That does sound a little
He used her rod, her bait, and she netted it for him. So, well, I guess congrats is still in order. 758's a big one. All right. That's right. Lisa, sorry to hear that. She said she's a chef and she's now out of work. Support your local eateries.
Yes.
A lot of these people, my brother included, who owns a couple of the Wings Etc. locations, he is they are still
wings. That sounds good.
Chicken wings would be good now. They sound. I
might get some wings on the way home. That's a good idea.
There you go.
That's a good idea.
Well, call Wings Etc. Get you some takeout set up, and they'll pick it up. That. And because they need it, they do need it. Everybody support them, and Sydney Reynolds says he's wanting an elusive Fitzgerald hat, so maybe you have to get
Oh,
one of
this is
those
my
away.
Fitzgerald hat. You have to get your own.
Well, tell him where he can get one. They can get them online.
You can get them online at FitzgeraldFishing.com. They actually got a lot of hats. This is the only one I've got, but they've got a lot of different styles, a lot of different logos and things like that. But go to Fitzgerald.com, and they'll get you fixed up.
All right, so thanks, Bryant. Saw some comments on Reese's. My daughter, Reese, took her out yesterday, and she caught her personal best. It was a 4-pounder, largemouth, and she caught it actually at Moss Lake here locally. And they are biting. They are biting everywhere right now.
Like I think most of the fish are just starting to pull up on bed and get shallow here in the last couple of days, and it's going to be really good fishing for the next 2 or 3 weeks in our part of the country. And I can't wait to get back out there. I don't know when I'm going to get to go. I may go Thursday, but I don't know yet. But it's going to be fun. You know, me and Jeff and I, excuse me. Matt didn't even call me out. So Jeff and I went Friday. Do what?
I was reading.
Okay. Well, anyway, we went Friday to film some stuff that we're going to come out with here in the coming months, and we had a ball. You know, Jeff caught some on a Demiki spinnerbait. We caught a lot of fish on a Demiki stinger, 4-inch and 5-inch. Caught a bunch on the 4-inch Demiki armor shad. And it was just a fun day of fishing. Like, we could catch fish offshore that were staging for pre-spawn. We caught a lot of fish up shallow under docks. Seen 2 or 3 on the bed, but not a lot. They're just kind of getting up there. But it was a fun day, and it's only going to get better and better. You know, in the next 2 weeks, there'll be 2 or 3 bass laying under every boat dock on Lake Norman, and it's going to be fun times.
So on that note, let's get into a question. Doug Landers wants to know what's your go-to tournament bait this time of year on Highland reservoirs.
Ooh.
I know what mine would be.
I know what Matt's is as well, so I'm going to let you. Can I say it for you just to see if I'm right?
Say it.
Matt's favorite bait is his signature lunker hunt fetch swim bait.
All right, that's good. That's good. You know me well. So
See,
can I name yours?
Yes, name mine.
Thrifts would be, I don't know on a Highland what size he would use, but would probably be a Demiki stinger.
Yeah, that'd be it.
Most likely wacky rigged.
Most likely, yes.
In some type of green color.
Exactly.
Green pumpkin, because it's like the only one they make, right?
No, we got
I'm saying in your
candy.
eyes, it's probably the only one.
I throw watermelon candy.
That's right. You like the watermelon candy. You are a watermelon candy man. So that's good. We know each other pretty well. I guess we could name each other's. We answered for each other.
I know what Matt's going to do before Matt knows what he's going to do.
Yeah, is that how you beat me? Is that how you beat me all these years? You've gone in there and fished it the way I would have fished it before I ever got there.
If you look back on history, this time of year, Matt, he beats me most of the time. He's got this.
I got that.
He's got this
2 out of
spawn deal
weeks
figured out with his swim bait and the follow up approach. He's got that dialed in. I've tried to duplicate it. I actually think I showed him that about 12 years ago, and he's took it to another level. Or maybe I've got hard-headed and try to do too many other things. I don't know. But Matt's got that dialed in with his swim bait and then, seeing spawners and catching them.
All right. Cole Smith said he calls dibs on all the old new hooks that you take off your baits.
You'll have to get in line. Luke Clausen already takes them off.
Really? He takes a hook that you take off
He'll
your
take
baits?
I'll use say I'm cranking. Well, you follow. I was throwing the BTC 60 and cranking, grinding bottom all day with it. We'd get back to the room and I'd have a pile of hooks, that I'd take off and put new hooks on, and he'd take them and use them.
There you go.
I don't know.
Jonathan Carter wants to know if we're fishing this week. I'm sure we will be. I've been on the water 3 or 4 times in the past week with the girls and the family. I'm sure Thrift will hit the water sometime this week.
Oh yeah, I've already got planned out of going maybe Thursday, possibly Saturday. Depends on what the boss lady says.
I say I'll be back out. I'll probably be back out with my daughter and/or daughters one day. Youth turkey season starts Saturday, and I'm going to take my oldest out there to chase.
When's our turkey season come in?
Ours actually starts. The adult season starts on April 11th.
April 11th.
So a week from Saturday. And I think I've got Smoke talked into actually going turkey hunting.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it.
It's going to be bad.
We're going to see if turkeys are as dumb as deer.
That's
what we're going to do. Deer's stupid.
They say turkeys, they're born scared and they die scared, and that's why they're so hard to kill. Because this time of year, those big old toms, boy.
I mean, I've spent a good bit of time in the woods, not to get off the let's talk fish subject, but of all my experiences in the woods, when I'm walking through the woods, not trying to be quiet, just walking around, if I jump a deer, they run off. If I run up on a gang of turkeys, they may run 20 feet and then they stop and look at me.
They
turkeys
know
are dumber than
season.
deer.
Their number one defense is their eyesight.
They're dumb.
And you let one, you'll find out. We're going to go. Thrift or not going to
Like,
go.
I already got it figured out. I think I can ambush him in Rambo style. Like
ambush a turkey.
Yes, I can.
I'll video. I want to see this. All right, so yeah, to answer your question, Jonathan, we'll definitely be fishing. And Brian, if you see some questions, there's a lot of comments.
Yeah, I saw one
here.
a minute ago I wanted to touch on. Brock Crone asked, so when cranking, do you guys use 10-pound test everywhere except Texas and Florida? And Brock, for me, I let how deep and what style crankbait I'm fishing determine the pound line I'm using. I would say 80% of the time, 12-pound P-line tactical is what I'm using to get that desired depth range. But, if I want to throw a bigger bodied crankbait in shallower water, I'll bump up to, 17 to 20-pound line. It depends on the depth range I'm wanting to get, but I don't think I ever use 10-pound line. I think 12 is what I use. Pretty much the smallest I ever use is 12 because I can get a deep diving crankbait to go as deep as it possibly can on 12. I'm a little scared of 10. You got to make sure you retie often because just the wear and tear of winding up and throwing a big crankbait as far as you can. And so 12s is about as small as I go, but I'd use a lot of 15, 17, and 20, depending on the size body and how deep I want that bait to get, because you can take something like a 10XD if you want to fish it in 15 feet of water and put it on 20-pound line, and you can make it do what it needs to do and run that depth instead of just grinding the bottom the whole time. But if you get out in 25 feet and you want it to hit bottom, you're going to have to drop down to 12. So.
So I'm pretty similar, but I'm on a, since you hit that one pretty thoroughly. Somebody did ask about the boat ramps in North Carolina. They are not closed, Bryant Clary. I know South Carolina shut all theirs down, and I'll say a little something to that. I know that move was geared towards a lot of people that are not adhering to what we talked about earlier in the social distancing deal.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, a few bad apples kind of ruined it for everybody.
So what was just people partying on
people
sandbars
congregating in large groups, like they're not supposed to.
So there wasn't bass fishermen. It was
no. It was actually a lot of recreational people, recreational boaters, a lot of tourists coming in from out of state, going to the beaches and congregating at the beaches. So they shut the beaches down. They shut all the public ramps down in South Carolina. So unless you've got your boat in the water at a dock or you have access to a private ramp, you're not going to be able to launch in the state of South Carolina.
Right.
Hence the reason, which I didn't announce this earlier, but we got at our official text today from Bass, that the Santee Cooper event in South Carolina, we were supposed to leave the 11th or 12th to go down there and start practice. It's been postponed.
Yeah.
As we knew it
so
probably
postponed
would.
is good, though. That's better than a cancel.
Correct,
So
yes. And
that's good.
Also, that was, I'm glad you said that because it reminded me of a question I saw here from David Scott Bird. He said, with all the tournaments being postponed, it does look like it's inevitable that our season, probably Brian's too with MLF, will be extended into possibly late summer and definitely early fall, maybe even into late fall.
Yeah. Which I think that would be awesome.
It's going to be definitely
interesting. It's going to be different.
It's going to be interesting. And David Scott Bird said, with all of the tournaments being postponed for a while and pushing into summer, potentially even fall, I just added that in there to David's question, what's your go-to summer pattern approach?
Ooh.
So let's talk about some summer patterns. And I can start, since I know you addressed the last question. Go-to summer patterns, I know it depends a lot on the fishery. There's a lot in the southeast that are dominated Well, we could even talk about. There's multiple patterns. You got the schooling fish deal. You got the shallow water deal. You got offshore brush. You got. But I'll talk about the shallow water deal. Summertime around here, a lot of our biggest fish in the lakes live shallow. There are a lot of fish that live offshore, especially in Norman and some of the spotted bass lakes around here.
You kind of got two trains of thought. You got brim eaters, and then you got herring and shad eaters, which I think is what Matt's talking about there.
Yeah, and it's really hard to win on those offshore fish. Now, in a perfect scenario, and I think, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, you utilized this in a tournament several years ago. It was an FLW, what did they call those? It was a fall tournament that you won on Norman. It was a series.
Yeah, FLW series. No, that was an open, they called it.
It was an FLW Open tournament on Lake Norman in September, I believe it was.
Yep.
It was kind of a junk around type tournament. Brian had what I was talking about, the perfect game plan, in that he'd fill his limit offshore. He would go shallow to try to upgrade and to catch a bigger bass. And I do think that shallow deal is where you can really slam the door. But it can be really, really fickle that time of year.
Right.
Where you can go out there and you can catch a great big one, or 5 great big ones, and then the next day you literally not get a bite.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of guys did in that very same event. They went out the first day, caught, big bags for Norman in the fall, 13 to 15 pounds, and then come back the second day with 7.5 pounds.
Yeah, and they put all their eggs in one basket. Brian was smart enough to kind of utilize both scenarios, and that's what put him over the top. And I was, and I didn't win. Obviously, I had a good finish. I think I finished like 12th.
Yeah,
I was doing the same thing. I was actually starting shallow in the morning. Then I would go offshore. Then I would go back shallow in the afternoon when the shade lines got up really strong.
That's exactly what I did, and that's a good way to approach any summertime tournament, is doing exactly what we were talking about doing at Norman, because early in the morning you've got those fish that have been up at night feeding. They're up there. They're still shallow. They're still cruising the banks looking for an easy meal. And then after that window passes, say 8:30 in the morning, if you haven't caught your limit or you've got a couple big ones you need to fill the limit, get offshore for a couple hours, fill your limit, maybe catch a few decent ones. And then once that sun gets up about 11:30, you've got a straight shade line. So any type of structure on a bank, be it a boat dock, a tree that's right next to the water, if it's going to leave a little patch of shade, those big brim eaters are going to pull right in that little shade patch and actually use that shade for structure, use it for cover. And you can really pinpoint and target that fish just by running those shade pockets the rest of the day to try to get a big kicker in the afternoon.
And we all fish. We'd be lying if we said we don't fish a lot, but there might be a few out there that don't mind. But we all fish a lot better with a decent limit in the box.
I do. Yeah, I fish with an open mind. Like when I feel the most dangerous is when I'm comfortable with what I've got,
fishing free,
and I can fish the rest of the day looking for one bite. That's when it feels good. That's when you stumble on something that could win the event.
100%. And David Scott Bird, I hope that helps you a lot in as far as some different summer patterns that might present themselves on your local fishery. And I'll give you another little tip. Brian didn't touch on this, and this is kind of this is the goods. This is I say the goods. It's just a tip that I've utilized over the years. I'm sure Brian's done it. And any of your lakes that are highly developed lakes that have a lot of docks and a lot of dock lights. A good thing to do, especially in those summertime tournaments that typically blast off at safe light, is to know where some of those most productive nighttime docks are. Meaning that have those big dock lights, spotlights. Some have underwater lights that are actually there for fishing purposes. And go out one night when you got some time for a couple hours and cruise the lake safely at a safe speed. Don't be a maniac out there in the dark. Wear your life jacket and make a mental note or make a waypoint of where those docks are with those lights on them. And you'd be surprised if that's your first stop of those early summer morning tournaments, what might still be lingering around some of those docks.
Yeah, they don't stay there long. I mean, you've got about 30 minutes after daylight.
Make it your first stop.
Yeah, definitely got to make it your first stop. And that's something that before FLW put a rule on when you could launch your boat in the mornings, and I think it was to kind of, for safety issues, to keep people from fishing at night. I used to do that for summertime tournaments. I'd go put the boat in at 3 in the morning and ride around a couple of hours and look for dock lights. But, once FLW established that rule 30 minutes after sunset or 30 minutes or 30 minutes before sunrise or 30 minutes after sunrise, that eliminated all that. But that was definitely part of my game plan before they came out with that rule. So that's something that can help you get a kicker right off the bat if you just got to put your time in to find it.
All right, so Kenny Mathis said, hey, y'all, got my package of stuff that he won in the trivia. Really appreciate it, but how do I get signed up for my Bass membership? That's something that we do for you, Kenny. Your information's already been submitted to Bass, and actually it usually takes 3 to 4 weeks turnaround time to get your Bass membership package in the mail. If for some reason you don't have it in 3 to 4 weeks, let us know, and I'll be glad to follow up. So let's see. I did see a...
Oh, here's a question I want to touch on.
All right.
It's something a lot of people don't think about. And when you're in a tournament, I know there's no way to prevent it, but Tony Lawson asked, what's your thoughts on guys out fun fishing?
That's exactly what I was getting to address.
Catching big fish off the bed, riding around with them all day, and taking a picture at the boat ramp, and then releasing them. To me, during the spawn, I think that's a bad idea. Really, I think it's a bad idea any time of year, because in the summer, you're stressing those fish out, especially those bigger fish. There's no reason to put them in a live well if you're not going to have a tournament. I mean, I know it's fun to hold up 2 or 3 for a big picture, for, a nice big fish picture. But really, during the spawn, take a picture, turn them back loose, let them go back and protect their eggs, because, those big fish, if you think about it with anything else, with genetics, I mean, their babies maybe have a chance of being big like they are. So do everything you can to protect those big ones and protect all of them. So that'll keep everybody fishing longer. Obviously, put more fish in the lake also.
And Reed Carl Finley actually had a good statement earlier. Should be a great spawn this year with all the tournaments being postponed. And I wouldn't say that tournament fishing has really a negative impact on the spawn, because historically speaking, it really doesn't. And you can just look at the sheer numbers of fish in these lakes and know that it doesn't have a really negative effect. But that being said, what has a positive effect is when you have higher than average water levels, and dirtier than average water levels.
Right. Which is something we've got right now. I think North Carolina and South Carolina are going to have great spawns just because of what Matt said, the watercolor. But one of the worst things you want during a spawn is for water to come up really high when they're actually getting on the bed, and they go up in bed, and then they drop the lake level down and leave their beds high and dry out of the water. If those fish lay eggs and they drop the water out from under them, there's no way those eggs can survive. So we want kind of stable water levels in the springtime so they get a good spawn. And I think we're going to have a great spawn this year.
Yeah, it should be strong all over the southeast. Pretty much everywhere was above average as far as water level, unless whoever controls that lake level yanked the bottom out of it. All right, here's a battery question. I'm going to throw this over to you, Brian. Let's see if you can answer this.
Throw it.
This is from Andy. He said he upgraded this year to 3 depth finders and a 360, all on a 31 AGM battery. The battery seems taxed at the end of the day. Do you guys run 2 starting batteries?
I run the same program, except I run 4 Helix 12 Humminbirds and a 360, and I run all of that off of one 31 series AGM cranking battery. And, I don't have any troubles with it, so I just run the one battery, and I don't have any issues. One thing I will do is, if I know I'm going to be fishing all day, a long time during practice, when I get up from the console and go to the front to start fishing, I'll take time just to hit that power button, put my graphs on standby at the console where they use very little power. That'll extend your life a really long time on your battery. You're just wasting power. If you're not back there staring at those graphs, there's no reason to have the screen bright, have it lit up. So just pause your graphs to put the sonar or the screen on standby, and that actually creates less noise in the water too, because it stops your sonar from pinging on the rear of the boat also. So instead of having 2 transducers pinging, you've only got the one on the front. When you're up there fishing, you're going to get less interference if you get any. So I would definitely recommend putting your graphs on standby, but you should be fine with one 31 size battery.
TJ Eskew, good question. So what's your approach to extremely muddy water that never clears up when everyone is throwing muddy water lures, spinnerbaits, chatterbaits, and flipping? definitely always want to think outside the box. And I know exactly what you're talking about, TJ, because the same concept was happening out here at our local lake, Moss Lake, for the last 2 weeks. It's been dirty. It's starting to clear up a little bit now. But, everybody was out there chunking a spinnerbait. And, I ended up catching some a week or two ago before they started to really pull up on a bladed jig, and that's just because I was trying to listen to. I don't like listening to Doc talk, but I've got a lot of buddies that fish out there, and you see them out there. It's a small lake anyway, and everybody's chunking spinner baits. And I ended up catching more on a bladed jig. And as people start throwing more of a bladed jig, you go to a square bill, or you just always
always swap it up.
Always swap it up and change it up, and you'll figure out. But as far as really muddy water that never clears up, you kind of only have so many options, really.
Yeah.
So, do you have another, other than your square bills, flipping, chatterbait, spinnerbait? He didn't say square bills, so I'd say a square bill would definitely be one of my go-tos.
And another thing to think about, even in dirty water, fish will still hit a topwater in muddy water. It's just you want something that makes a lot of noise and something you can work pretty slow in one spot where they can really hone in on it. I really like a bait like a Demiki D-Pop. I can pop it, make a lot of noise, stay in one spot, especially this time of year when they're spawning. You can pitch it up under the walkway of a dock. You can pitch it up to the edge of a bush, just a high percentage target where those fish could be spawning in that muddy water, and really work it slow, make a lot of noise. And a lot of times they'll come up there and blast it versus letting a spinnerbait or a chatterbait or something like that go by them.
Yeah, and I've caught some slow rolling. I like a loud buzzbait too this time of year. Something black or red that's got that can be silhouetted really well, and it's really loud, and something that you can actually wind at you can't wind a buzzbait, but so slow.
Right.
But something that you can wind at a semi-slow speed, like Brian said, so they can hone in on it a little bit better. Here's an interesting question, and I know Brian and I think we're set up a little bit differently when it comes to this question, but from Kyle Ash, he wants to know, when using the graphs, are you guys linking them for mapping or running separate map cards for the front and at the console, pros of one way over the other? Mine are linked. I only use a mapping card in my console graph, and it is linked to where I can read the same maps on my front graphs. Now, he's talking about mapping, so are you... I know yours are never linked.
I'm a little unorthodox. I don't link any of my graphs together, and to me, it's kind of, I don't know. I don't want them knowing what the other one's doing. It's kind of, this is the analogy I use. So, you're in high school. You got 4 different girlfriends. You don't want them knowing what the other one's doing. You don't want them to know about each other. It's just like your graphs. Why would you link your graphs and let them know what the other graph's doing? Don't do that. Let each graph work independently. I got a chip up front in one, a chip at the back in one, and everything works flawlessly. I'm never at the, at the support trailer getting my graphs worked on, because each graph is designed to do one job. The more jobs you give something to do, they're going to take away from other jobs.
All right, I can't argue with what you just said there.
Exactly, because that's gold.
But the first part of it about the whole girlfriend analogy, I don't. You afraid the front graphs are going to cheat on the back graphs?
They could. They could. All right, I can't tell you how many people's boats I've been in. It's got 4 graphs. They got them all linked together, and they're looking at the front graph at the sonar, and they're like, "Man, I can't see my bait." And it's reading the transducer in the back of the boat because they're linked together.
Well, That's
dumb.
It ain't but one button they got to hit on there.
It don't matter. That's dumb. That should never happen. That front graph should always read on the front sonar. It shouldn't even have the option of reading on the back sonar.
You had issues in the past, I think, with having
because I've
graphs.
never linked them together.
I thought you did back in the day.
Never
That's
ever.
why you switched. So you've never done it.
I'm the only one that's never had graph trouble.
And who are you kidding, by the way? You didn't have 4 girlfriends ever.
No, I didn't. Okay. But that's a good analogy. You can't deny the logic behind that.
Okay.
You cannot.
I'll agree to disagree, as we have before.
I really didn't have 4 different girlfriends.
A couple comments, Daniel and James were like, 4 girlfriends? Really? Dang.
It's just an analogy.
Said David Prince said, you must have been a player.
No.
All right, how do you use your waypoints you set on your side imaging at the console? or how do you see your waypoints you set on your side imaging at the console? That's from Reed Carl Finley.
So you're side imaging at the console.
When you scroll over on your side imaging and you mark something you see on there,
yeah,
it pops up on your map.
Yeah.
So I don't.
I think he's probably saying, how do you see it up front if you're not linked together? I do get that question a lot, because if your graphs are linked together and you make a waypoint at the console, you can see the waypoint on your bow graph when you go up to the front and actually start fishing. But I've always been able to mentally picture where I'm at and what I'm fishing's at, so I don't really have to have a waypoint up front, especially with my Humminbird 360, because I can actually see what I'm throwing at. And then when I make a waypoint up front, that's when I get bit. So that's kind of how I separate the two.
Jared Roper. I hear you, Jared. He said not 4. He had 5. Oh, me. All right. Tyler wants to know, this is for you, Smoke. What's your number one, only one reason, let's see if you can do this, for using the 360?
The number one reason, there's 1,000 different reasons, but
I want to see if you can give one. Your
number one reason for using a 360 is it makes fishing offshore just like fishing the bank. So with my 360 and I'm offshore, I can see everything just like side imaging picture. I can see a point, I can see soft bottom, hard bottom, I can see dock poles. So it's just like you're going down the bank fishing where you can visually see your target. With 360, I can visually see my target, even though it's offshore underneath the water and I can't see it with my eyes. I can see it on my 360 screen. And the cool thing about it is it's got a dial on it that's, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. You know your directions. So I don't have to point my trolling motor at something to know where it's at. So if the wind's blowing and I'm having to face my boat this direction into the wind, but my target's over here, I can still see it on my 360 because it's not directional oriented with the trolling motor. If you've got something, whatever graph brand or brand of graph that uses a directional trolling motor transducer where you've got to point it at it, you're going to constantly be turning back and forth in the wind and you're not going to be able to see your target the whole time. So with that 360, I can point the boat this way, I can see everything over here, I can see everything on this side, and I can look at the which way my boat's pointed on my 360 dial. 12 o'clock is going to be the bow of the boat. So if I see something at a 90-degree angle to the right on my graph screen, it's going to show it over there at that 3 o'clock position. I can look at the bow of the boat and I see something over here, I know I can throw right over there and I'm going to hit it first cast every time. So the 360 to me is the best thing there is when it comes to any type of graph out there, especially for fishing structure and being able to see what you're actually throwing at.
Was that one reason?
That was one reason broken down in 20 ways.
Okay.
Don't get me talking about 360.
Hey,
I can talk about it all day.
Reed Finley did have a good statement. We were talking about batteries earlier, and the fella having problems with it running low on him. But he did say check your reserve capacity, because all 31 AGMs might not have the same reserve.
That's very true.
So check that on your battery. Not sure what kind of battery he was running, but double check your reserve capacity. Let's see. All right, Matt Newman. Here's a good question. And we've talked about this before a little bit with cadences and retrieves and things like that. But Matt Newman said, I've had times like today where I pop a spinnerbait or an underspin. I'm assuming he's talking about on his retrieve. He's just popping it to change it up and to get it to spin because it's hung up, and he gets bit immediately off of a reaction, basically.
Right. And
he tries to replicate that bite and wastes an hour or more with no bites. How do you keep from wasting time like that in a tournament? But, honestly, I'm always changing my cadences.
I am as well.
And Brian is one of the best in the world, and I've been in the boat with him enough to witness it, whether it's a swim bait, a spinnerbait, a crankbait, an Alabama rig. It doesn't even matter what it is. Every cast is not the same as the next. Now, if you get 5 bites in a row doing something, obviously you're gonna run with that. But even still, you're still always visualizing a fish being behind that bait. I mean, if you're twitching it and popping it and doing things like that, if you did that one cast, just do a straight retrieve the next. And then after that, just pop it once. And then after that, pop it 6 times. So do that. Be inconsistent with your cadences on every cast. Don't do it. Don't do the same thing like you said, for an hour or 2 hours because if I make 2 casts to a brush pile with an underspin that I just got bit on, and I popped it 3 times on each cast, the third cast or the fourth cast, I might not even pop it at all, or I might pop it one time, or I might just twitch it a little bit, or whatever it may be.
And where that really plays a bigger role is on a bait like an underspin or a single swim bait like the 4-inch Demiki Armor Shad that's not hitting the bottom. Because most of the time, if you're throwing a crankbait or something like that, it's going to deflect off the bottom and it's going to change directions anyway. But if you're throwing a bait like a spinner bait or Demiki underspin or swim bait, anything like that that's not making bottom contact, you've got to impart that extra action yourself. And the way I do it is I picture kind of when my bait's getting close to the brush pile or close to the point or the target, whatever I'm fishing, and I'll just give it a slight jerk, just pop it up or something. You kind of got to picture a fish tracking a bait like that, especially if you're fishing a clear water lake and you're throwing a swim bait. Fish will track that swim bait a lot of times. Even an Alabama rig, they may swim behind it 10, 20 feet and just follow it to see what it's doing. And if you just impart the slightest little bit of action, maybe twitch it, pop it up, let it sink a little bit, even just reeling it a little bit faster for 3 or 4 cranks of the reel handle, you'll get those fish that are following to run up there and get a reaction strike out of them just by changing that cadence. So any bait that's not making bottom contact, I do that all the time, just impart some little bit of action to it.
All right, so that's interesting. Well, let's follow that up with a question from Brian. Brian said, pre-spawn suspended fish on points, how do you catch them? So pre-spawn fish on points typically, there's a lot of ways to catch them. A lot of times if they're bottom oriented, we catch a lot of them cranking, we catch a lot of them, depending on water clarity and things like that, you might even catch them burning a spinnerbait on points if it's shallow and dirty.
Which is what me and Jeff did at Norman Friday.
There you go. So pre-spawn fish suspended on points, though. I don't know if you're talking about clear water, dirty water.
It's got to be clear
yeah,
water.
most likely I'm going to say clear unless you got like super fluctuating water levels and it's jacked the fish all up.
Well, let's just go with
clean water,
3
suspended.
feet of visibility or more.
Okay, all right.
That's kind of what I.
And Brian, you can let us know. I'm assuming you're talking about clear water. And tell us the lake or the fishery. We might even be familiar with it and can give you some examples of how we caught them there.
Yeah.
But let's talk about catching pre-spawners suspended on points. I'll just start with naming a bait, and you can follow it up with another bait. How about that?
I like it.
I'm gonna say a single swim bait.
Dang it, that's what I was going to
Okay,
say.
I'll let you have that. I'm going to say a jerk. I'll say a jerk bait then. A jerk bait.
Well,
when I'm talking about
that.
pre-spawn suspended fish, the water's typically still in the 50s. One of my go-to baits is 100% a jerk bait, and I want to see those fish. I want to see it, whether it's on my side imaging or my down imaging or whatever it is. I want to know how deep they're sitting. I want to dial in that jerk bait for the water clarity and how deep I feel like those fish are, how cold the water is. There again, talking about cadence. I'll adjust my cadence every cast till I get 1 or 2 to bite. That's when your live scope and things like that become very vital when you're talking about suspended fish also. Use that to your advantage. But I'm gonna go with a jerk bait, and I'm gonna use that as my example. So obviously we know the rest, but you can elaborate on it.
Yeah, and Matt's he's taught me a lot about jerkbait pre-spawn fish. I mean, I actually won an event at Beaver Lake because of Matt giving me some tips on some jerkbait. And that
I kind of figured that out accidentally, though.
He did figure it out accidentally, but it was great. It worked out great for both of us. I mean, we both had top 5 finishes. But since he talked about the jerk bait, I'm going to go with the single swim bait. I'll kind of group it together, single swim bait or Alabama rig. Because
you had to bring in the rig.
You got to talk about the rig pre-spawn because it catches a lot of giant fish. But the key to throwing a single swim bait is controlling the depth of that bait and keeping it where the fish are, not getting below them, because I think that's kind of the worst thing to do. It seems like when fish suspend, they'd rather come up and hit a bait than they had to go down and hit a bait. So if they're suspended in 10 to 15 feet, you don't want that bait crawling on the bottom down in 20 or 25. You want to keep it right above their heads in, say, 8 to 12 feet where it's right there at them, because they're not going to swim down 10 feet to bite it. If they're suspended, 90% of the time they're looking up. So just vary your jig head size. I mean, I've gone as light as an 1/8 ounce all the way up to a 1/2 ounce or 3/4, depending on how deep they are. And you can actually control your depth on that single swim bait with your line size as well. When the water's clear, I'm fishing clear water, I throw a 4-inch Demiki Armor shad, either in a pearl white silver flake or Tennessee shad. That's kind of my two go-to colors. And I'll vary my jig head size and my line size depending on how deep those fish are. If those fish are setting up there pretty shallow and 5 to 10 feet, I'll go with a 1/8 to a 3/16 ounce head, and most likely be using 8 to 10 pound line, 12 to 15 pound line to keep that bait up shallower. If they're suspended a little bit deeper, I'll go to a 1/4 or 1/2 ounce head and go down in my line size to 8 or 10 pound test line, because you want that bait to just float through the water slow. You want it to look like an easy meal. Those fish can run up there and just pick it up. They're not going to run from it. It's not going to spook them. So really kind of dial in your jig head size to your pound test line you're throwing, and be able to get that bait to get to the depth you want it to.
Brian Branch want to know how many boats were there at Moss the last 2 days. I don't know.
I've heard 1,000.
But I went by. Obviously, you see the main boat ramp there if you get in the main body of the lake, and it was full. Like yesterday, I was there, and it was slam full. And Saturday, I took the family out, and it was slam full. All right, Jay Park had a good question. He wants to know, what are some reasons why fish in one lake, that's part of the same river chain, are behind in the spawning stage compared to others. Example, perfect example, Catawba River system.
Yeah, we can talk about this good.
Yeah, Lake Hickory. Well, that was his example, because
Yep.
Jay's obviously from around this area, and I assume that since he's talking about Hickory, Norman, Mountain Island, Wiley, they run from the northwestern part of North Carolina all the way down to
it's the whole Catawba River chain. It
South Carolina.
Starts at Lake James up in Morganton, runs all the way down to, really all the way down to Lake Wateree, where it turns into the Wateree River to Santee and runs out into the ocean. But I mean, a lot of it depends on, or is depicted by the elevation, the weather climates. I mean, you look at the weather up in Morganton, where you're in a higher elevation than you are at Lake Norman, and you've got those cold mountain streams that start the Catawba River running into Lake James. So usually Lake James water temperature and Lake Hickory's water temperature is a lot farther behind than Norman and Wiley. So if you're on Lake Norman and you're seeing water in the mid to upper 60s, Lake Hickory and Lake James probably going to be in the mid to upper 50s, just by that, because it's the headwaters of the actual river. And plus, on Lake Norman, you've got 2 power plants. That's the first lake on the chain with power plants. The water usually runs a little bit warmer due to that. Lake Wiley's, it's got a nuclear power plant on it, and the waters stay a little bit warmer, whereas Hickory and all the lakes above that don't have any power plants on them. They're just hydroelectric dams. So you got a lot of different factors to think about, but I think the biggest thing of it is just where those rivers start, running into Lake James, then going into Road Hiss and into Hickory. It's just colder water. That's the headwaters of the river, and then those waters warm up when they're setting in the lake, so the farther you get downstream, that water just gets warmer and warmer.
David Hall said, hope we're doing good. We hope you are too, David. Said he's missed us the last few shows. Keep in mind, guys, that all these shows, and I believe we're up to date now, right, Jeff? Yes. He said that like he's mad at me.
I think he is mad.
He might be mad at me.
He's sitting in there eating. What's them things called? Come get one. I'd like to have another one as well.
Come get a popsicle, Jeff. Jeff's mad because he can't come in here and get a popsicle out of the freezer because he has to walk in front of the camera. I don't think anybody will mind.
Yeah, actually, your dad's Robert's on. He said it's snowing and blowing rock.
There you go.
My wife showed me a picture of that today.
Just above Morganton. I didn't know that. So David Hall, he just want to let you know, David, go onto our YouTube channel. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. Jeff is actually uploading all our shows now after the shows are air live on Facebook to our YouTube channel. and not every show since our inception, but basically every show I know in 2020 and just about every show in 2019 are on there, right, Jeff?
Yes, he said
yes.
He said yes. Good
So,
job, Jeff.
Yep, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Matt Newman actually said, "Does Jeff actually talk?" Question mark. Yeah, you can't hear him tonight because he doesn't have a mic and he's quarantined in a different room. But let's see. We do appreciate everybody joining in. We've had over 300 viewers most of the night. We got a trivia giveaway coming up. Again, guys, if you're watching on my page, Thrift's page, the Titan Tungsten page, the Basscasters page, the Topwater Blow-Ups page. Did I miss anything, Jeff?
Jeff's going to say something.
I know. He came in here and he pointed at us and looked at us real funny. But that being said, you're not eligible for
I seen the question you're talking about.
Johnson, I got 2 words for him. You can share my secret. Thrift can share it.
I can share Jeff's secret.
The Mickey Stinger.
The Stinger. That's exactly right.
Yeah, are you answering a question on here?
Yeah, so
Okay.
so Justin Johnson said need to let Jeff tell us his fish catching secrets, and we went to Lake Norman Friday, and I gave Jeff 2 rods. He had a Demiki tot spinnerbait and a 5-inch Demiki Stinger, and he caught a lot of bass that day.
Andy said you sound like the parents in Charlie Brown, Jeff.
That's awesome. Well, no, that was the school teacher, wasn't it?
Lonnie Heiss said we need to get our podcast on iHeartRadio. Jeff, are we not on iHeartRadio? Yeah. Okay. He said he'll text Seacrest and find out what the deal is, Andy. But I know we're on all the other podcasts, Stitcher and iTunes and all.
What's a
all
Stitcher?
that
Nobody has yet to explain to me.
I don't know.
It's
just the name of a podcast host, whatever that means.
We're on Stitcher, whatever that is.
Stitcher, yeah.
I'm just here talking. That's all I do. And eat popsicles, evidently.
Yeah. All right, let's 1 or 2 more questions, and then we have our trivia giveaway. Did I finish what I was saying earlier about anybody that's watching on another Facebook page where we're cross-posting? Be sure to come over to the Let's Talk Fish page if you want to be eligible for our trivia giveaway tonight. That involves the signed Toyota Fishing Team hat and the Catch Commander scale that we're giving away, and we'll have that at the end of the show here in just a few minutes. Tip on 45-degree water. So Mitch is in the upper Midwest, and they're fishing 45-degree water. You got a good tip for 45-degree water, Thrift?
I've got 4 go-to things when water's that cold, and it depends on the type of lakes it is, and it depends on the type of fish. If you're talking about largemouth versus spotted bass or smallmouth. You know, if I'm on a smallmouth lake with water in the mid-40s, that's probably my favorite time to fish because those fish absolutely love to gorge on bait, and they readily bite. So my go-to baits on spot and smallmouth lakes in that temperature range would be, a Ned rig with the 3-inch stinger, a jerk bait, the single swim bait. That's going to be my 3 primary tactics. When you're talking about largemouth, I'm going to look for a little bit of stained water. I'm going to be throwing a square bill, slow rolling a chatterbait. Probably most of it's going to be crankbait related, and just fishing that 3 to 8 foot range is going to be my key depth range.
Yeah, and he's talking about upper Midwest. It's most likely probably cleaner water,
right?
And it's probably most likely smallmouth dominated. I'm sure there's largemouth there too. But one thing that I don't know if a lot of upper Midwest anglers have gotten into is Demiki rigging.
That is very true.
And I've also used ice jigs. The Lunker Hunt makes one called a straight up. That's a good deal. The Demiki rig, which is just a little fork tail bait on a jig head fished vertically.
Yep.
It's kind of a do nothing type technique.
Little 3-inch Demiki armor shad.
And you're
go to work.
Yeah, your electronics obviously are a big deal in that type technique. But that's something to keep in mind fishing that super cold water. All right, one more question, Smoke.
One more question, then we're creeping up on 8 o'clock.
All right.
Pick us out a good one.
Let's see. All right, let's pick out a good question. And let's see. Here's one from TJ.
Where you at?
What? Oh, sorry, I can't take that one because I don't even know what he's talking about. TJ said, "What do you think about Ike saying that you can get a Strike King Series 5 to 30 foot by putting vegetable oil in it?"
Oh, I got that.
Okay, go ahead. I don't. I didn't even know. I didn't even know Ike said that. You mean in it? You mean like actually inside the bait?
I didn't know he said it either, but this is a thing, and I've done it. And I'll try to think who was the first person I said. They may not want me to say. Anyway, there's some guys in North Carolina that kind of started a lot of the deep cranking deal. You know, getting crankbaits 30, 35 feet way back before there was a crankbait that would run 20 feet. And one of their tricks was to weight them with the oil. Like, I never use vegetable oil. We always use baby oil or something like that. But, yeah, you can add enough weight to that bait. The whole key is it doesn't make the bait dive deeper, but it allows you to cast that bait so much farther you can get it down there. I mean, if you put too much in it where it sinks, yes, you can get it that deep, but that's going to kill the action of the bait, and you're going to get hung a lot, and that's not what you want to do. So you want to put just enough in it to add enough weight to that bait where you can throw it a lot farther and get 5 or 6 more feet out of it. You know, it's a whole lot more effective than using external weights, because if you don't get the weight exactly centered on the bait's going to run one side or the other. If you actually put oil inside the bait, it's going to be perfectly balanced, cast it a lot further, and everybody knows in cranking, the farther more line you've got out, the farther that bait is away from the boat, the deeper it's going to get. So.
All right, so that pretty much wraps it up for the night, and we're past an hour, about 5 minutes, almost 5 minutes past the hour. So I know we need to wrap it up. What's up, Jeff? Jeff, just
whoa, 6 feet, slap him with the rod.
Yeah, don't get near me.
Get the rod.
Unfortunately, I'm next to the soundboard, so he has to.
Okay.
He has to operate. I guess he has to do something productive. What are you hovering over me for?
I'm about to end the show.
Well, we hadn't even asked a trivia question yet.
Yeah, we still got to pick a winner.
We still got a trivia giveaway. So,
don't tell the answer, Matt. Don't tell the answer, Matt.
All right. Look, Jeff. Trivia giveaway time, and we've got a.
Are we going to both determine whoever sees it first is going to call the winner?
Brian and I, since Jeff is not involved tonight. Are you watching it in there? You got it up on your feed in there? All right. Well, then you would just want to. Whoever sees,
somebody will determine a winner.
Whoever sees the first correct answer. Do y'all even know what the correct answer is? Well, Jeff should.
Is that it? All
That's
right.
it right
I know
there.
what it is.
All right. So the giveaway tonight is for, and again, guys, if you're over on a different page watching, you got to be on the Let's Talk Fish Facebook page to be eligible, because we can't see your answers if you're not. To be eligible, first answer we see, this is to be eligible for the Toyota Fishing Team sign hat from Thrift and I, and the Catch Commander scale, compliments of Catch Commander. We're going to do a giveaway. So here we go. Jeff, well, you don't even have a mic tonight. You can't ask the question. I just thought it'd be cool if he could ask a question, since for the first time.
I'll ask it.
All right, for the first time in the history of LTF, this trivia question actually
pertains to Jeff.
Yeah, pertains to Jeff Walsh.
And it's actually a fishing accomplishment by Let's Talk Fish very own Jeff Walsh.
All right, so that being said, we're making history tonight. All right,
we are.
So go ahead, Smoke. Ask
and
the
it's going to be a total guess answer. Like, you can't Google it. You just got to think about Jeff and his fishing abilities to come
You're
up with
going to pull a
answer.
mat and give away the answer.
No,
you
I'm
keep
not.
This up.
No, I'm not. All right, so Friday, Jeff and I went to Lake Norman. He caught several bass. We need to know exactly how many bass Jeff caught at Lake Norman Friday. That is what we need to know.
He was with Thrift.
He was with me. I was on the front of the boat. So I'm going to drop you a little hint there.
Oh, Jeff was on the back?
Jeff was on the back of the boat. And Jeff caught fish on several baits. We don't need a weight. We just need a number of bass Jeff caught.
People are saying, before we asked the question, Jeff, we were getting weights and redfish beside it.
Yeah. No redfish involved.
When's the first time Jeff talked on the show? That'd be a good one, Matt. I don't even know if we know the answer to that.
I wouldn't have an answer for that.
No, the very first episode, because we talked about how LTF came about. Jeff and I were sitting at Shelby Cafe one day having breakfast over some liver mush, and
I had liver mush this morning.
And it was. Did you?
It's delicious.
Did you see my post the other day?
No, I did not.
The sign at Ingles, they were sold out. They had to.
Yes, I did.
They had to put a sign that limited the number of packs of liver mush. Actually, I stole the picture from my neighbor, Katie, who was nice enough to let me use her picture. But we shop at the same grocery store, by the way. But the picture, it didn't have a sign that was limiting how many packs of sausage or bacon you could buy. It only had a sign limiting the number of packs of liver mush.
Liver mush is delicious.
And only in Shelby would they do that. And they were sold out, by the way, of every kind, which there's only two. The Nieces and Max is the only two that I go for.
You don't do Jenkins?
I've never had Jenkins, to be honest with you.
See, to me, it's either Jenkins or Max. One or the other.
Now, Max is my favorite. Max is my personal favorite.
It's good.
And I don't know, Jeff, you know what kind of liver mush Shelby Cafe sells? Because I do like it. I didn't ask him what kind they sell. I think it's Max. We don't have a correct answer yet.
We still don't have a correct answer. Let's talk about the baits he caught them on. Can we do that?
Yeah, you can talk about any of that. Just don't give the answer away.
Jeff caught fish on the Demiki Tot spinnerbait, 1/2 ounce snow shad. He caught
snow shad.
Good clear water spinnerbait. He caught some on it. He caught the majority on a 5-inch Demiki Stinger, baby bass.
You're kidding me.
I caught one on armor shad.
You did catch one. All right, so Jeff caught one on a Demiki Armor Shad. So that was the 3 baits he caught fish on. Looking for a correct answer of how many bass Jeff caught at Lake Norman. And you got to think, this is Lake Norman. It's mostly pre-spawn, but the fish was biting pretty good.
You know what would have been better, and nobody's even guessed it, is a trick question that Jeff didn't catch a fish, and the answer was 0. But that's not true. That's not the answer, just in case anybody's wondering.
I've seen some close answers.
But Brian Branch just said, "Is the liver mush?" Was that a question, Brian, or was that like?
I think that's a statement. That's a statement.
All right, yeah, I have seen some close answers, but we let's get back and
let's just say Jeff went through more than one pack of 5-inch Demiki Stingers.
Eric wanted he went through a pack of 5-inch Demiki. That's probably because he got hung every time.
He went through more than one pack.
More than one pack of Stingers.
I probably got hung twice.
Yeah, he didn't get hung much.
That's a lie.
Rick got hung more than me.
I did.
He stayed hung.
I did.
He
I'm
stayed
terrible
hung when
with
he's fishing
with a
me.
spinning rod. Like, I'm terrible.
They asked who the first guest was to sign our wall back here, which was actually Hank, because we didn't start it until we had Hank in the studio. We've had a lot of good guests, but unfortunately, we did not start that until you and I have to sign the wall, I guess. But
no, we got to wait for all the guests.
Yeah, I know. We need a.
I guess it's going to be a while before we get a guest.
It's definitely going to be a little while.
Quarantine in effect.
That's right. I'm seeing a lot of really close answers, but I have not seen the correct answer yet.
So the question is, how many bass did Jeff catch Friday at Lake Norman?
How many bass did Jeff catch Friday at Lake Norman? When they were putting together the goods for y'all. They were out on Norman
good content.
shooting some good videos.
All right, I see a correct answer.
You see one?
Yes.
I still don't.
Brian, how you pronounce this last name?
I probably don't know if you don't.
Here, look.
Wait. Oh, not that, Brian. Bustilos?
There you go.
Bustilos? Brian Bustilos. I'd probably just
Yeah, that's
butchered.
close enough. Brian Bustilos.
Bustilos.
Bustilos
of bass.
Bustilos.
Bustilos. Brian Bustilos.
Yes. He's a top fan.
Is the winner. The answer was 23. It's
23
funny. It's
bass.
Josh White. Boy, you give Walsh a lot of credit. He said 68.
Oh my gosh.
He probably hadn't caught 68 in his life. But Jeff said he just Venmo'd you $50, Josh, for giving him.
Hey, Brian said we got his name right. Good job. Good deal.
Wait, Bustilos or Bustilos?
I don't know. Either one.
All right. All right, Brian, so send us a message with your shipping information, and we'll get you your Catch Commander scale out and your Toyota Fishing Team hat out in the mail to you. And,
and send us some pictures with your Catch Commander scales weighing a fish. We'll throw it up on the Let's Talk Fish page.
Put your hat on. Put your hat on, hold your scale up
that'll
with
be
your fish,
perfect.
and we'll post it up. But Eric Hawks said, what was the answer, 23?
23 was the correct
Eric,
answer.
we've told everybody.
Bustillos.
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 So we were close.
We were very close.
That we did not see. We saw Brian's before we saw yours, Eric. He said
these feeds work crazy.
Y'all have to
we'll
understand.
see different things.
Yeah, the way it comes through on your feed is not the way it comes through on our feed. So we have to announce the first one that shows up on our feed as the winner, and we see a couple of people saying that, but that's just based on how it comes through, how it transmits to us. So everybody got to understand that.
And Bo Adams, they probably did weigh 17 pounds combined.
So,
but that's Lake Norman.
what was the biggest one you caught, Jeff?
Probably, well,
Did you catch a 2-pounder?
Yeah, you had a 2-pounder, a couple of them.
yeah.
He caught a pretty big striper.
He did
catch
say
a-
the first fish he caught was
Yeah,
a striper.
first fish he caught was a striper. It's probably 5 or 6 pounds.
Yeah.
Bet that's fun.
Probably 2.5 pound spot bass.
Okay. Did you catch any largemouth?
I caught one.
You caught one.
Yeah.
So how many did y'all catch? 50? More?
Oh, probably 50 or 60, yeah.
And caught one largemouth.
Caught 50.
Nah, we caught a bunch. From 1 o'clock till 4:30, there
It
was
was on.
two or three on every dock, I think.
All right, so Clay, actually we do. He said you don't have to tell everyone about the feed every time. They should know by now. I'm sure Clay's saying it because he didn't want all the competition coming over from the other pages.
we apologize for that.
Yeah,
but-
we hate to be mean though and leave people out, but we just want to make sure that people, not just if they want to be eligible for the trivia, but if they want to engage and ask questions and interact, we want to make sure they have the opportunity to do that. So, Brian, you want to sign us off tonight? We're going to be back next week with another show and some good content, a lot of Q&A again next week.
Y'all drop us some topics you want to talk about. Hit us up on Let's Talk Fish and leave us a message. And always remember, even though everybody's quarantined and now most people can't go fishing, what are we going to do, Matt?
We're going to sit right here and talk fishing.
Bam!
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Fish. Visit our private Facebook group to continue the conversation, post your questions, and talk with other fellow anglers at facebook.com/groups/Let's Talk Fish. Follow us on Instagram at Let's Talk Fish Official and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more exclusive content. Join us again next episode for more actionable tips, tactics, and techniques directly from the pros. And remember, when we can't go fishing, we're going to sit right here and talk fish.